Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we have a special guest for you. We have Mr. Ryan John Baptiste. Let me tell you all something about Mr. John Baptiste. My name is Ryan John Baptiste. I have been a dedicated professional in the fitness industry since 2003. Over the past 21 years, my journey has taken me from being a personal trainer to an online coach, allowing me to coach individuals from around the world. Fitness is my platform for transforming lives, and my goal is to help people enhance their lifestyles, which in turn improves their physical appearance and mental well-being. In addition to my coaching career, I am an IFBB professional men's physique athlete competing globally against the best in the field. I am also a two-time Olympian men's physique athlete. I practice what I preach, maintaining peak physical condition year-round. My mission is to inspire and educate others to do the same. By understanding the reasons behind your actions, you're more likely to achieve lasting success in your fitness journey. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ryan John Baptiste to the show. Hello, sir.
Hey, Charles. Thank you for having me on.
How are you?
I'm good. It's after 11 o'clock in the night here, but we're good. I'm alert and I'm I'm ready to educate.
Hey, I appreciate that. So, is there anything else that you'd like to add to your bio that wasn't?
Well, I'm a family man. I've got 4 kids, a wife, and I'm 40 years of age. So I would say I'm of age. I'm getting there. I would say I'm pretty experienced. Still got a lot to learn, like we all have,
Right.
but I'm in the position where I know I can, help others that need help in
Okay.
this field, in this industry that I'm in, right?
Well, I can definitely say you are definitely 40 years young. I saw that clip of you and your son, and I'm like, dang, if y'all could actually pass for brothers.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that. I'll take that. You know, I might keep posting those kind of videos now, all right? To be honest, I posted that video thinking, nothing of it, and it's got the most interaction that I've got, for a long time on LinkedIn. I
Right.
think it's because it's that father-son kind of video where it's, was it 21 years? Well, we're 20 years apart,
Yeah.
and it shows, right? You don't, no matter what age you are, as long as you look after yourself,
Right.
right? You can keep up with these kids, but also I can inspire the kids at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's the key point. But yeah, I was kind of shocked when I saw that. I'm like, well, when you said that you showed your age and you showed his age, I'm like, well, okay, well, that's doing the thing.
Yeah. To be honest, I never really thought of it like that. It's only when I put it together, thinking, maybe a lot of people can, for me, that's normal. I don't feel, when you think to yourself, I'm 40 already. Has that really happened? To me, I feel young still. I still feel young. I still feel with it. And when I post something like that, I think, oh, I'm actually getting old, but it's impressive at the same time.
Okay, you got that right. Let's jump right into this. And can you tell us what inspired you to pursue a career in personal training and nutrition?
That's a good shout. I think from a young age, I've always been into sports. I used to get up in the morning and go to some type of, I used to play basketball in the morning, athletics. I was part of it. Every team going, I was in, right? A jack of all trades, they call it, right? Jack of all trades. I love sports. But then when I started to come away from sports, I found the gym, because the gym was always something that complemented sports. So I was in and out. But then when I left the sports, as I mentioned, I just went into, okay, let's let's see what this gym thing's about. And I did, I think the first week or first couple of weeks, I was like, oh, I like this feeling, right? I like this feeling. I already had a decent structure, good genetics. So it just kind of was real, it was a lot more enhanced after coming out of the gym. I was thinking, oh, I like this. And you just get this bug going to the gym. Before I know, I was going 4 times, 5 times. This is at 18, by the way. So as the years went by, I thought, okay, maybe I can do something with this. I'm enjoying it. Why can't I, potentially teach others? So that's when I got my qualifications in terms of the personal training and then nutrition. And then I did 2 years on the floor. When I mean on the floor, I mean that's where you learn your trade, when you're training people in person. In London, central London, high flying clients, you would train them and then, try and give them as much advice as possible. And I did that for 2 years. I thought, right, this is quite rewarding. This is quite rewarding. And then that's where it kind of began. That's where it began. And then it just kept progressing from there. I'm not sure if you want me to go into that now, but it just kept progressing. And then I had a little bit of a gap where I was training people in person. Then I actually went into a prison, and for 10 years, right, where I train young offenders. Okay, so I train young offenders, took them to the gym, took them to get out their cell and actually play football, basketball, and so forth. Took them to the gym as well. So I did that for about a 10-year gap, right, and then I went online after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So how do you tailor your fitness programs to individual clients, to their needs and goals? How do you do that?
So something like this, I would sit down. For me personally, the closer you can get to someone, the better, right?
Right.
So in terms of online, the closest that I can get is for like a video call like this. So we'd have a talk, kind of just get to know that person. So I like to get to know that person, what their life is like. Have they got a family? A partner, a wife, whatever it is. Have they got kids? How many kids have they got? What they do for work? How active is that job? And just anything in between. I like to just find out a little bit more about that person, and then, what's the reasoning behind why they want to achieve that goal? Because the thing is, some people want it, but how much do they really want it? Are they emotionally attached to it? Because you can want something, but that want might not be enough for you to do. So for me personally, I need to tap into that and kind of find that burning desire of why that person wants to do this, So I like to get to know that person, but also get to know the reason why they want to achieve this goal. If it's just for a holiday, sometimes it's not strong enough, right? Sometimes it's not strong enough. So I would sit down with that person and then find out a lot about them, and then devise something which will work around that person. So let's say, your days are really busy, you're booked out, you've got appointments, morning, afternoon, evening. Maybe you can't get to the gym, right? Maybe it's something that you got a few little resistant bands behind you and some dumbbells, that's sitting there gathering dust. Maybe we can do 20 minutes of doing something 3 times a week,
Right.
and then making sure we look at what you're eating. So I like to work around that person. Not everyone can go to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, right?
Right.
Some people can. So we will devise a program for the gym. So, and again, it does depend on the goal. If someone like yourself or someone else wanted to build muscle or lose body fat, then I would pay more attention to food if they want to lose body fat, because food is really important when you're trying to lose body fat, right? A little bit more important than building muscle, because you can go to the gym and push hard, a lot of weights and do that, but kind of be a little bit lenient with the food. But with losing body fat, you need to be, a little bit more diligent with the food side of things. Yeah.
So is this where you, when you were talking about from the mental perspective, it's like it has to be in here as to what the goal is and if it's going to be accomplished?
Exactly. I mean, there's going to be days where you don't feel like doing anything,
Yeah, I know them.
right? So you need to think back to what's the reason. Why is it that you want to get to, what was the reason why we got on the call in the first place?
Right.
You know, you have to remind yourself sometimes of
Mm,
that, because what will happen? You just go into this circle where you just cycle back. You'll circle back to, right, I need to do it again, and then it's just again and again. We don't want that. It
mhm,
might be little steps.
mhm.
You might come back 2 steps, but then you still go back. You still go forward 3 steps.
Right.
If something comes, I always say to someone, if something props up where, it's something's happening in your life where, it's going to put everything to a halt. Okay,
Mhm.
that's in your mind most of the time. It might put yourself to. It might pull you back for a week and think, I hadn't gone to the gym for a week because this has happened in my life. Then get straight back onto it when you can. Some people just stop after that week and then that's it. They stop for a whole year. And that's the problem. There's been times when I couldn't train. That's fine. But I know the next opportunity I'm going.
Mhm.
I try not to make it longer than 2 weeks. So,
So what can our people what can people what are some of the things that people can do to basically, let's say if they have those moments, those intermittent moments, what should they do in order to keep that progress going?
right. So what I would say is, in your mind, you need to have, right, little steps, little steps. Set yourself a short-term goal. All right. So let's say, something's happened, and you know that you want to get to this goal. I always say, right, write something down, write it down. Okay. Put it in the drawer that you go in, that you open every day. Okay. Every day. So if something happens, you open that drawer and you see this note that's sitting in your drawer, or it's on your display on your wall behind you on your wall. It's just reminding you what you want to achieve. Okay. You need something to constantly remind you, because this life is very distracting. Okay. Very distracting. There's
Yeah.
so many things that can distract you. So you just need something on your wall to say, this, what, £20 by the end of the year, £20, or 100, like a target weight, £180 by December,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so if you do have a bad week, you look back and think, right, okay, I can get there. I can get there if I just do this, and just do a little thing for this next week. I can make a small little step towards that. So it might be a pound. You might go back half a pound, but as long as you're in that right direction,
Mhm.
because things never go up like this, okay, or go down like this. It's never in straight lines. It's this, you know. It's this. Same with business and your job. It's never it's never just one way, straight. It's going to be like that. And that's the same thing with the fitness journey. Even myself, I sometimes have periods where I'm demotivated, right?
Mhm.
Yes, I might go backwards, but I know, because I've created a habit, I know I'm gonna get back onto it real quick. So
Right.
you have to do this. You have to create a habit. You have to create a habit, right? Here's an example. Let's say you don't have breakfast.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't have breakfast. But well, the plan is to have breakfast 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
But you miss a couple days. Okay. If you can get 2 days out of 7, that's better than zero, right?
Right.
Okay, and if you did 2 days for the next 6 to 8 weeks, that's still better than zero.
Yes.
Then if you can get to 3, that's now we're making progress,
Mhm.
right? Something is better than nothing.
Yes.
And this, I always say this, people, something is better than nothing. And even that little something is still creating a habit. It's still creating something,
Right.
right? It's still creating something. So it's just little, like I said, little steps, little steps, little steps. A lot of people make a mistake where it's all or nothing. It's not. And I see this a lot, right? It's all or nothing. It's either I do it or I don't. It's either one or the other. What about that little middle ground, right?
Right.
Because all or nothing is not good. Because what happens? What happens when you go all? You put all your energy into it, and then you start to kind of take your attention away from other things in life, like work, and you start to forget other things because you got all in. And then let's say your work is starting to take a hit. You think, oh man, this is too much now. This exercising regime is too much. I need to kind of pull back. And then you go back here, and then you're all of this way, and you left that over there. So sometimes you just, even if you just start off slowly, a lot of people go in too quick. Oh, start off really slowly. Don't go crazy. Going from 0 to 1 is fine. You don't have to go from 0 to 100.
Right.
And a lot of people think they need to do that because they're in a rush. They want to get there quickly.
Right.
Right. So sometimes 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. And then let's say you got to 100, let's say you got to 100 by doing 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got there steadily. So it doesn't really feel like it's all, because you've made it. You've got there a lot slower.
You're right.
Got used to it.
Right.
So take your time. There's no rush. Think long term.
Could you share an example of a client success story that you're particularly proud of?
Oh wow. Okay. I've got quite. Let me think. I like the life changing one. So I've got several. So one that's on my top of my head was a guy. I actually train his brother now, but he was a younger brother, and I can't remember the weight, but he lost quite a lot of weight. He's a dad. So when I train people, I can relate to people that are dads as well. There's a dad, and he just let himself go, right? Let himself go. I think he lost like 12 pounds or something like that. Not a crazy amount, but it's how it made him feel. He
Right.
felt like more like a man, right?
Right.
More like a man. He's from the States as well, and he's like, right, man, this just changed my life. He's like, this has changed my life. I feel so much better. I've got a bit more muscle on me, a bit more tone. I remember he saying to me, I know how there's a testimonial on my page of him, actually, a video of this conversation. And he was like, I know what you mean now. When you feel good about yourself, everything else is just, everything's up 20%, everything in life. If you don't feel good about yourself, that's when you can have mental breakdowns, and some people get depressed, right? So if I always say, if you can get the physical sorted out first, the mental will follow. A lot of people say, right, you need to get your mental right first, and no. If you get your physical first, the mental will follow.
Okay.
And this is why I try and push, because if you look in the mirror and you like what you see, or you're seeing progress, guess what that's going to do? There's only one thing that's going to do.
It's going to motivate you.
It's going to motivate you to not just yourself, but you're going to feel better, a bit more confident. You're going to carry yourself with a bit more oomph.
Yeah.
In your work, in your meetings, when you're meeting people, when you're talking to clients. Right. This is what I'm always saying. So even me now, when I've had periods where I've let myself go a bit because things have happened, right? But I was still doing my thing, but I wasn't how I am now. I'm a different person. People don't realize the person they're in until they start to change.
Wow.
And that just comes with being active.
Right. So how do you stay updated with the latest trends and research in nutrition and fitness?
Well, I think I do like to scroll a little bit
Mhm.
on social media. And when you scroll, you get random stuff as well, but you do come across certain trends and stuff. But for me personally, I'm quite old school,
Okay.
right? So when they try and bring all these new school stuff, I'm like, right, literally, if you go to the gym and you train hard, and you put the work in, and you eat foods that have been around for years,
Hmm.
you're on the right path.
Right.
Okay, you're on the right path. When it comes, as I've got older, though, I have learned a little bit more about what we've kind of mentioned in terms of mindset. I've learned a little bit about that, but I think that's more through life experience and talking to others around my age.
Okay.
So I think I've learned a lot from that sense rather than reading articles and stuff. I think the life experience has helped. Having kids, having a family, dealing with all that and work, you kind of learn on the job,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then that experience that I'm going through, I can pass that on and create my own ideas as well. You
Right.
know, yeah, yeah.
So, what's your approach to motivating clients who struggle with consistency?
Good question. That's a good question. For me, that does depend on the person, the individual.
Hmm.
Some things, and that's why I like to talk because I get to know that person. So the longer, the more I get to know that person, the longer I'm with that person, I can see what they need,
Right.
right? So that is down to the individual. First of all, someone. I mean, I've there's quite a few different ways. What I've done in the past. Quite a few different things I've done. Where I said, look, listen, if you don't get yourself into order, if you don't start getting yourself down in the gym, we're not talking. We're just not going to talk, right?
Wow. Okay. Oh,
That's
wow.
that just depends on the person. So I knew that would kind of trigger that change.
Right.
Um, Another person would be right. Listen, I'm here. I want to help you. Okay, I want to help you, but first of all, you do need to help yourself,
Right.
right? At the moment you're pre-diabetic. Do you want to continue to? Do you want to be diabetic type 2? Is that something that you want to happen? Because it's going to happen,
Hmm.
right? It's going to happen.
Right.
So if you want that to happen, carry on doing what you're doing right now. So it just depends, right? That can sometimes be enough just to give them a reminder. It
Right.
might be a case where I'm messaging that person every morning. I message them every morning and say, look, remember, this is what you got to do today. I'm waiting to see, because when they're on my program, on the one-to-one program, when they complete the workout with entering everything in, I get notified
Hmm.
when that person's complete that workout. Okay. I mean, you could cheat if you wanted to, and just enter the stuff and pretend that you've done it. But then when it comes to check-in day, we can see,
Right.
right? We can see if the work's been done or not,
Hmm.
right? Through photos and especially photos.
Right.
So that's how I try and keep the consistency, and that's how I try and keep the accountability for that person. And then after a while, hopefully that person will create a habit, and that's why, and that's what I want to happen,
Hmm.
because you're seeing progress. When you start seeing progress, consistency is a natural thing that will happen.
Hmm.
But you got to see it. You sometimes, if you're watching this, you have to make sure you do something long enough to see the progress. A lot of people stop before they see progress, and then that's it.
Good lead in. How do you assess a client's fitness level and progress over time?
Say that again. How?
How do you assess a
Okay.
client's fitness level and progress over time?
So, I mean, depending on the goal. So, let's say someone wants to lose body fat. I mean, I do look at numbers. So sometimes I would take measurements of certain body parts. So like maybe around your belly button, around your chest. If someone's looking to lose body fat, tone up. But the most strongest form of checking progress for me is through either video or photos.
Hmm.
I'm a visual person. Sometimes numbers and weight doesn't really give the full picture.
It doesn't register.
Yeah, it doesn't. It can. It's a variable. But if someone's physique, someone's body type puts on muscle quite easily, that weight can go up,
Right.
but their photos look better.
Right.
Their before and afters look better, but their weight's gone up because that person is body type likes to add on muscle quite
Hmm.
quickly. So obviously muscle tissue is heavier, right? So the weight will go up, but measurements have gone in and photos look good.
Hmm.
So I'm more of a visual person, visual, and it never. And I might have mentioned this to you before, but photos never lie.
Hmm. Yep, they're right. They say it's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, photos never lie, and someone's body never lies as well to me.
Hmm.
So I can sometimes look at someone and I have an idea of what they eat,
Hmm.
right?
Oh wow.
So yeah, yeah. It gets deep. It gets deep. When you've been doing this for 20 odd years, it gets it gets deep like that, right? I can see these things. I've got an idea of what that person's lifestyle's like, right?
Right. So when you do an in-person assessment, and I'm assuming that that's why it's so much better because you're able to visualize and see the whole picture without having to say a word.
Yeah, in my position now, yes, because I've doing this a long time. I
Right.
can tell the types of food they're eating, or sometimes the food they're not eating.
Right.
I can tell how active that person is,
Hmm.
but that's fine because that's a starting point. That's a
Hmm.
starting point. So the only way is up for me
Hmm.
and for that person. The only way is up. That's fine. The good thing about this is that the body is able to change.
Hmm.
So we can reverse what we've done in the past. That's fine.
Right.
And for me personally, it's a lot more rewarding because I can help someone. Because this fitness thing is easy-ish for me because I've been doing it for years. It might not be easy for someone else, but I'm willing to help that person get to that point where they can feel better about themselves. Like it's so powerful. It's so powerful, you know.
In your opinion, what role does nutrition play in achieving fitness goals compared to exercises?
So I kind of mentioned this before. So if you're looking to lose body fat, the food is very, very. Someone could lose a lot of body fat from just changing the way they eat,
Hmm.
changing the types of food they are eating,
Hmm.
maybe doing less processed to more organic or real food.
Hmm.
Okay, so in terms of losing body fat, yes, you can just food is for me a little bit more important than the activity because you can do it without the activity, right?
Right.
In terms of building muscle and maybe a little bit more tone and shape, they both are in line because you need to do some type of resistant training, whether it's at home or in a gym, to create that shape, to build a bit of muscle. But then you also, on top of that, you need the food to kind of correlate with that. But those are kind of together when you're looking to build muscle. But losing body fat, you can just do it through nutrition.
Now I gotta ask this because as you were just explaining that, that actually what came to me just now is it's like, how does one, from a mental perspective, get his or her mind right to where when you're talking about the food, what
Mm.
is it that about the food that you think is most likely, and just saying your opinion, that's making them maybe not be consistent and eat a lot of the bad foods, but then want to come back and want to do some exercising, but then stop the exercising and go back to eating again?
Because listen, bad food tastes good and training takes effort.
Okay.
So those two together is why a lot of people are in a bad situation.
Okay.
It's easy to say no, I'm not going to train because it's hard work, man. But going and sit down and eating a whole bag of chips or crisp, wherever you're coming from, if you're from America, it's chips. It's
Right.
quite easy to do, right? Feet up, watch the NFL, NBA, and eat a whole packet. It's easy.
Right.
It's easy. And the brain, like, when it gets used to sugar and all that kind of stuff, it just wants more of it. It's very addictive.
Hmm.
So it's a pandemic, right? And it's very addictive. So, and it's easy. It's easy to say no to training, and it's easy to eat that stuff.
Okay. How do you handle clients with dietary restrictions or specific health concerns?
So for me, it's all about communication. So what is it that you can eat and what is it you can't eat? Normally, I know a lot of the health conditions like IBS and someone with type 2 diabetic. And so I kind of know that just from experience. But the first protocol I kind of ask is, what kind of foods can you eat?
Hmm.
And then we work around that. And what foods are you eating?
Hmm.
Because normally it's not the stuff that they should be eating. So we kind of try and remove it, but I still like to integrate it because I'm coming from more of a lifestyle perspective. I don't like to be too restrictive for that person,
Right.
but we just got to do things slowly. It's like coming off smoking. When someone's coming off smoking, it's they have to kind of dwindle it down, right?
Hmm.
Or alcohol. I'm not too clued up in that, but I'm guessing they have to kind of come off it slowly. It's the same. It's the same thing with food. So yes, we need to improve it for your needs in terms of what you can and can't eat. But if I still would include it a little bit, but then take it out after a while, right? Um, so yeah, so many conditions that I do come across. Sometimes I might have to do a bit of research because sometimes you just need to remind yourself. But typically, when you look at all the foods that someone should have, it's normally healthy food. All these all these sicknesses and diseases. If you Google them, it's normally the same list of foods for all of them that you should be eating.
Hmm.
Typically,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
that's it says a lot. It
Hmm.
says a lot. Someone's got type 2 diabetes. I have a look at that list. It's probably the same for someone that has gout,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And all the numerous other 1,000 conditions that are out there. You look at what they recommend you eat, it's a list of the same foods.
Hmm.
So this is not rocket science, but what it is, it's finding a way to manage yourself. Because it's all managing. Because if you like pizza, that's fine, but you also can't eat pizza all the time. So you have to be able to manage it and come up with some kind of formula to to help yourself, and that's what I help with. So let's say over a 7-day period, I like to say, right, okay, these first 5 days, I'm going to want you to kind of be a little bit more diligent what you're eating, be a little bit more careful. I allow you a couple days to kind of be a little bit more flexible. That's an example, but that's something that is okay to do. But what people do is they spread out all the bad stuff throughout the whole week. You're not giving your body a chance to change.
Right. Right.
There's no chance because you keep throwing it in. Give yourself a chance.
Can you describe your typical process for designing a personalized meal plan?
What's that first bit? My process.
Can you describe your typical process for
Okay.
designing a personalized meal plan?
Yeah. So kind of what I mentioned before. So I would ask, what is it that you eat currently?
Hmm.
Okay. And then ask them, I like to talk to the person like, how often do you reckon you can eat per day?
Hmm.
Most people say 3 times. Okay, that's fine.
Hmm.
Okay, what happens after? I mean, they say 3, but I'm sure there's snacks in there as well.
Right.
So there's always a time for snacks, right? So
Right.
I try and kind of I look at that as well and think of alternative snacks that you can have that taste just as good. Because we've got to remember, as humans, we like the taste of things. Our taste registers with the brain, and that's what gets us in trouble. So it's about finding alternatives as much as you can to kind of throw that in as well. So, you know, I'll definitely fit it in within their work schedule. Also, with the time they have to prep a meal or prep meals, if they can, if they have no time to prep meals, and they say, look, Ryan, I can only maybe do my breakfast, but my lunch I get from down the road, and dinner is whatever my wife cooks for me. Okay, that's fine. We can work around that. We can work around that. You know, it might be cutting out the carbs that your wife does and just having the protein and the veg with instead of the whole plate of rice, right?
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
so there's ways to kind of work around that. So it all depends on that person, and that's how I would, plan that meal plan out.
Okay. So
Yeah.
are you still cooking the lamb chops?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've got these big lamb steaks at the moment, but I do my lamb chops. I do my steak. So, and that's the good. People don't realize you can have the tasty meats like that. You can have it.
Yes.
Need to. You just need to control the carbohydrates is the key.
Right.
Personally, it's the carbs, and that's how I like to kind of design meal plans. I don't count calories. I don't like to count calories
Okay.
because I mean I used to when I was you know starting this whole fitness online stuff, but then when I actually and like I mentioned to you about experience
Mhm.
and learning on the job, I thought to myself, hold on a minute, who's got time to count calories? Uh, uh, Have you got time to count calories every day?
No, that's a lot, and that's what causes a lot of people to kind of like get frustrated.
Right, because it's very long-winded, and you get frustrated and then you stop. And then once you stop counting calories, you just think, yeah, this is long. I can't do this anymore because
Right.
it's too hard to kind of stay up to date with everything that's happening. How much calories do I need? How much calories should be having if I train here? It just gets too confusing and too many people, with different ideas. So for me personally, if you're watching this now, forget about the calories. Forget about it. Just look at your plate. All right. Most of us know what we should be eating, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yes.
Look at your plate. Has he got so let's say a hand size portion of protein?
Hmm.
Chicken, lamb, steak, salmon, mackerel, sardines. Yeah. Has he got some? Okay, yes. Has he got a little bit of carbs on that plate? Not too much,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Again, maybe like a bit of a palm size on that plate,
Right.
maximum, right? And
Hmm.
has it got plenty of veg or salad on there?
Right.
Yes, it has. Perfect. Okay. You're not going to overeat on that stuff. You're not going to, when you have good food like this, you're not going to be able to overeat because it's going to be dense. If you're having chicken and loads of veg, and it's going to be hard to overeat on that. Okay. So if it's got 3 or 4 meals of this per day, you know, that's fine. You're gonna make progress because you probably wasn't doing this
Hmm.
anyway. So
Right.
once you do something like this, you're gonna change, and you don't need to count the calories. You just use your eyes.
Right.
Okay, I mean, back in the day, who was counting calories? Like I'm talking about, like
Nobody.
50,
Nobody.
60 years ago. Who was doing that? You know, and we
Right.
was probably all in better shape back then, right?
Right.
So it's just about educating the brain and the eyes and just looking, okay, yeah, this is good, this is healthy, right?
Hmm.
I'm not having too much of anything,
Right.
right? It's when you start to plate load with rice, the rice and the bread, that's
So
when it can go wrong.
portion is everything.
Yeah, just look at your plate and kind of get if you feel that you're not making any progress, then you might reduce some of the carbs from that plate. You
Mhm.
kind of keep an eye on things every 2 weeks, let's say.
Right.
And that's how I like to kind of So when I train clients, I don't just tell them what to do. I want to educate. I
Right.
want to educate that person, because you're not going to be with me forever, and I don't want you to be. You need to be able to educate yourself so you can do this by yourself after.
Mm. That's interesting. I think you mentioned this before, but can you tell us what are some of the certifications and qualifications do you hold in the training and nutrition?
So yeah, so I've got my level. So when I first started, I've got numerous actually. So I mean, so I've got all my personal training and fitness instruction. I've got exercise to music. I've got all the nutrition that comes with the personal training as well. I've got certain awards with weightlifting, in terms of, they call it baller, British Amateur Weightlifting Association. So I don't even know, like you see like the weightlifters that snatch the bar up at the Olympics and all that. So I've got all those qualifications. I've got numerous different sports as well. And yeah, so it's, and to be honest, all the qualifications, I like, when I think about it now, even those qualifications, even when I completed those qualifications, I know more now than when I passed those
Oh, wow.
those those qualification, those awards, because there's nothing better than life experience.
Well,
Seriously.
that's the evolution, though. I mean, that's a good thing. And that shows then apparently that in being a part of your craft and in your industry, that you is to the point that you're able to do this in your sleep, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I dream this stuff as well, right? So yeah, you could do this in your. I can do this in my sleep, because if someone does something for 23 years,
Mhm.
right? Anything, if you do anything for 23 years, you're going to be a master at it. I still like to learn. I do still like to learn, because you've got to stay interested. You've got to stay active. So I like to learn different aspects of fitness. So sometimes the other day I read a book about sleep,
Mhm.
right? And that's not a topic that I've kind of, looked into. But when I read about it, I'm thinking, wow, this is powerful as well. And this can obviously help
Yes.
improve the fitness side.
I think when I first talked to you, I think I was telling you I was having that issue
Right.
because because of work, and I'm working like up to 1 and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Well, basically not sometimes, but a
All the
whole
time.
lot, and not getting the proper sleep. I mean, it led to a lot of those really bad habits that you're speaking of, because I had got fat, and it was just like I didn't even realize it. Nobody said anything, and it's just kind of like when I look at myself and I realized that I actually hit the panic button,
Mm,
because I had always been physically fit, but in this case, I was not. I was not. I mean, it was horrible. So it's like, as I have a continuous goal, as you say, so which is why I'm glad that I've listened to understand some of those things. It actually works because you definitely need the sleep. Sleep means everything. It's like your cell phone. You charge that cell phone, recharge your body.
yeah, yeah. There's a reason why we need to go to sleep, right? There's a reason this happens for a reason, and like you said, there's loads of negative sides to it as well. Like, you can eat late, your following day you're going to be groggy. Your decision making is going to be not where it should be,
Yep.
right? Your mood is not going to be where it is. So many downfalls to it. So many. You won't be able to train with the intensity that you need to train. You
Yep.
might not be hungry. Your cortisol levels is going to be high, so you're going to be feel a bit more stressed than normal. Your body's not going to change.
Yep.
So, and that's just the ones I can remember. There's so many of them, right? So, just reading and like, educating. Like, you kind of know you need sleep. Everyone knows that, but it's actually when you read a little bit more in depth and the reasonings. Because I always say, once you know the reasonings, the reason, then you're more likely to carry it out.
Hmm.
Because if someone says, "Oh, you just need more sleep," oh, okay, I'll go sleep. Yeah, but if you understand a little bit more detail of why you need to go to sleep and what it can benefit you, then you go, oh, okay, you know, I need that benefit. I need that benefit. Then you're more likely to do it. So hence why I like to educate people, because if I educate you in a way that you understand why you're doing it, you think, oh, I see. Okay, I need you're going to be a little bit more accountable to yourself as well.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us how do you integrate principles of behavior change into your coaching sessions?
So, you know, what would you mean if you go in a bit more detail on that?
Integrate the principles of behavior change. That is, and I'm assuming that this, well, I shouldn't say I'm assuming, but this is like, I guess this is changing the mind process.
Mm,
So, and you know, as to being a little bit more structured into where is,
okay.
you know, how you want, you know, things to be.
Yeah. So I think, like I kind of touched upon it. I think if you can do something long enough to see that person would need to see progress first. So I think once you start to see progress, it will it's just more likely to click, and that change, that behavioral change, will more likely happen because they can see it's working. They trust the process even more now because they see it. So
Right.
what they've done, say for the last 4 weeks, has worked. So they're more likely to continue on that same path. So for me, my most important part, especially at the beginning of a program, is to get to see something. We need to see something. Whether it's that person's feeling like they've got more energy, or they've dropped, you know, a dress size, or you know, they feel that they're you know, there's a bit more room on their t-shirt. Okay. Once they start to feel that or see it, that behavior change is going to happen naturally. Naturally. But if they don't see it, let's say within the first 4 weeks, they can definitely be discouraged. That can definitely be something that can kind of come into their mind, and then that's when it's either you're going to go this way or that way. Okay. I mean, and that has happened in the past, but some people it takes a little bit longer, right? Because it's a change, it's a whole change in their lifestyle. So, you know, they might not be 100% following that plan at the beginning. So it might be take them a bit longer. But that's one of those things where, okay, let's keep with it, and then hopefully it will kick in, because in the end of the day, we're all human. We're all human. The body will change if you give it a reason to. It just might take a little bit longer. So normally progress will, you know, kickstart behavioral change for sure. Yeah.
So for those that are out here listening to the show tonight, even when you watch the rebroadcast, you need to make sure you watch this to thorough completeness, because if you need that assistance, I think you're probably going to want to be contacting Ryan about some sessions and so forth, because I'm more than sure that he's got what you need to help you get that body right.
Yeah, body and mind, the mind as well, you know.
So, what are some of the common misconceptions about nutrition and fitness that you often encounter?
That's a good one. There's one that, you know, a lot of people probably have the same thought process of, you know, what they've seen or heard is eating late, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's eating late. You know, you're nodding because you you probably think the same thing, right? Yeah. Listen, eating late is not that bad. Okay. It's
Oh,
what you eat.
yes. Okay.
It's what you're eating.
Okay.
Okay. But what tends to happen is a lot of people don't eat anything great at that time of night, right? So it gets a bad rap for that, because you know you're going to have a chocolate bar, you're going to have some chips, or you're going to have something that's not great, that's easy to, and normally it's something that's easy to hand, it's something that's not that great, right? Get out of the cupboard. And that's where it gets a bad, kind of the bad rap. But if you was to have a protein shake or some eggs or something that is better for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's low in carbs. I
Mm-hmm.
tend to kind of recommend something that's more protein, low, like hardly any carbs. You can, it's fine. It's fine, right? Let's say you train at 8 p.m. at night,
Mm-hmm.
right, in the evening, and then
Okay.
you eat, and then you eat at 10 p.m.
Mm.
That's fine. Your body's going to use that energy anyway. You just trained.
Oh, well, see now, I'm gonna tell you. Now, this is one thing that I found to be when you mentioned that. Now, the part that I find to be good about that is you say you always want to fuel up before you work out,
Yeah, some kind of fuel. Yeah.
and so I actually, in my reprogress thing,
Mm.
I was trying to do that without putting anything on my stomach to eat. I was like, I thought I was gonna pass out.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did that go?
Pass out. And so, this is me trying to do it first thing in the morning. So then I went and I was doing it in the evenings, but of course I would eat before I do that. But in the evenings, what I found is that it worked well. It actually was doing really good, but it's like, you know, I guess maybe it was like the feeling of getting up in the morning and your muscles get sore and everything. So
Mm.
I didn't really like that feeling, you know.
So
So
you mean you got up the following morning and you felt a bit sore and tender.
yes.
Okay.
So I'd rather do it first thing in the morning
Mm.
because I think that's what most people do, and I don't do it because most people do it, but I mean it seems like it's the most sensible time to do that.
I
You
think
know?
there's a number of, yeah, there's a number of different reasons on why I recommend the mornings anyway. But typically it does depend on that person and what they prefer. I mean, you don't like it because you felt sore in the morning. I believe after a while you'll get used to that anyway.
Okay.
You just maybe need to have done it a few more times and you would have got used to that. But I do believe in, I always recommend people that, that work and live busy lives, try and get it done, get up a little bit earlier, get to sleep earlier, get it done in the morning, start the day off in a nice and correct way. You feel a lot better for the rest of the day. You feel a lot better.
Right.
And then you're more likely to eat well through the day because you've trained and you don't want to waste that, waste it. You've got up early, you've trained. Now you don't want to kind of ruin the day with eating badly, right?
Right.
Whereas if you go in the evening, sometimes your to-do list does grow and grow and grow throughout the day. And then the easiest thing to do is get rid of the training session because you've got a few tasks that you need to complete. That's the easy way out, right? And and then you delay. And it happens. Yeah. So if you can get it done in the morning, you don't check anything, no emails, you don't check nothing. You just go, right? Train, start the day off right, release those endorphins, feel good.
Mhm.
Okay, come back, and then you know that you've ticked the box already, and now you're ready for the day.
Yeah.
You know.
So, how do you approach clients who are looking to lose weight versus those aiming to build muscle?
So yeah, I mean, typically the foods don't really, they kind of stay the same in terms of, let's say you had person A and person B, they could eat the same types of food, right? The food doesn't really change in that sense. The carbs might, in terms of quantity.
Mhm.
So the quantity might change, but the types of food would typically be the same for that person. If
Mhm.
A was equal to B, person A and person B are equal, the
Mhm.
types of food would stay the same. The quantity might change because my aim is to try and lose body fat. So and keep and hold on to as much muscle as possible. So I may reduce the carbs in person A that wants to lose body fat compared to person B that wants to build muscle. So person B that wants to build muscle, I would probably put in a little bit more kind of food before and after the training around the workouts, just to allow the body to grow some muscle tissue. Because sometimes it needs some energy. It needs energy to grow, right? So the food plan will, be similar, but just have a few different kind of variants throughout the week as well. So sometimes I like to use a trick when someone wants to lose body fat. So person A, I might do like a carb cycle. So some days will be low carbs, some days will be high carbs. Let me do that. Okay.
Oh wow.
So you can do it, you can make it as aggressive as you want. From experience, 3 day low carbs followed by one high is quite a nice balance,
Mhm.
and quite aggressive in terms of losing body fat. So you go 3 days low. So by this second and third day, that body is now, tapping into body fat,
Mhm.
because bear in mind you are training and staying active as well. So you're getting your body to try and utilize body fat rather than anything else, because the body will use fat as its energy because it hasn't got much carbs in or glycogen in the system. So let's pretend your glycogen's run out, which is your carbs. It's run out. It's now it's going to think to itself, right, where do I get my energy from? Let's use fat. So it will use your body fat that you've already got on your body to utilize that for its workouts and for its for your body to just to actively work during the day. So you're doing your 3 days low, and then you kind of recharge it with a higher day. Then you go
Mhm.
back down to three low, one high, three. So that's kind of little tactics and tips I like to kind of uh, throw in now and again. you
Mhm.
know so that can differ from building muscle. So I wouldn't typically use that method for someone that is looking to build muscle. I would do a little bit more slightly higher days, but again it does depend on that person's body type as well. So
Mhm.
that's something that I have to analyze as well through experience, and obviously how their body responds. Normally it takes me 1 or 2 weeks to kind of work out one's body,
Mhm.
right? And okay, that person's a little bit carb sensitive, so we don't need too many carbs. We can kind of drop that. So it just depends on that person as well.
So tell us this: are there like little orders that you think that you suggest people use in order to do workouts? You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about like when you have chest day, arm day, leg day,
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
Do you
Okay.
have suggestions as to how people should do that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And again, this is very, personalized to that person. So let's say someone could do 5 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they want to, build muscle, let's say. I would say, look, if you can focus on one area at a time, that's the best way. I like old school, right? So let's say you want to build your chest, and let's say you want to build your chest, shoulders, back. I would prefer if you can focus on one body part,
Uh-huh.
right, and maybe throwing another little body part, but you just really hammer that in for that session. You let it, and as that's recovering, you move on to another one the following day,
Right.
right? So that's what I've done for me personally, and that's how I train most people that can train, say, 5 days a week. If someone can train 3 days a week, then yeah, you're going to have to mix it up a little bit. But like I said, something is better than nothing. It's still effective. It's still effective, you know, because not everyone can train 5, 6 days a week. Three is like the average. So that's fine. We can just do your lower body, legs one day. You can maybe add some cardio on that day and do like a push day where you're doing your chest and your shoulders together, maybe a little bit of arms, and then do a back day and some arms. And so that's your free session with some cardio, right? It just depends on that person.
Oof. Okay, because you're right. That is old school. Because when I was in the military, that's how we used to do it.
Yeah.
And so, like now, I think because of the way things are now, because I'm seeing all these people with all these different days, right? And I'm trying to figure out like how does one do that, and how do you really make that work? Because I know when you say 5 days, that sounds like that's a lot of time. That's a lot of gym time.
Mm.
So, like the way you were talking about before, like it used to always be you do your chest, you do your arms, you do shoulders and back, you do all that in one day.
Mm.
Then
Mm.
you come back, you do legs and abs, you do that in one day, you know. And so I'm just trying to understand, like, what do you think is the method for all these different days and just targeting one area per day?
So what's the question?
I'm trying to understand. Tell
Yeah.
me, what is the method or what is the meaning for doing one area for all those different days?
Okay, because let's say I'm gonna do my back. Okay, so back is quite a big muscle group, quite
Yes,
big, and there's a lot of sections to it.
right.
Okay, so from a bodybuilding kind of perspective, let's say there's a lot of movements that I can do to improve my back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and again, it's quite a big muscle group. So if I also do my back and my legs, that's a lot of muscle that I'm doing. If I'm going to try and train that to not to failure, but if I want to really hone in on it and work really hard, that's going to be a little bit too much. Okay, so
Okay.
I just want to do back. If I do my back and my shoulders and my arms, yeah, I mean, I can still potentially do that.
Ooh,
I
that's a
can
lot.
still, yeah, it's a lot of work. So, and if I want to do it properly, I just want to spend 45 minutes or to an hour on that back, and that's it. If I can, if I have that ability and I have the time, then I'll do it that way. But if I can't, that's fine. Like I said, something is better than nothing. You know, you can add a bit of shoulders with that. You might not get the best workout on the shoulders because you're restricted for time because you've used some of that time on back. But if I could, it'd be just back because I can hit it from all these different angles. I can get a really good workout on it. And then I have 6 to 7 days before I hit it again.
Right,
Right.
right,
So, because I've hit it so hard,
right.
I can let it recover for the following week and hit it hard again.
Oh,
Right.
oh wow. Okay.
Because again, we don't grow in the gym, we grow out of the gym. Right. So, yeah, but not a lot of people have that time to do that, and most people haven't. So, you know, doing 3 exercises on the back followed by 2 shoulder exercises, that's fine as well, right? That's fine because you wasn't doing that before. So now you're doing that, you're going to make progress.
Okay,
You
that
know,
makes sense. That makes sense.
if you like you said 5 days a week, that's only five. How many days in how many hours in a week?
Ooh. Let's see if it's 24 hours a day. 24 times 7 is, let me see. That's 168 hours.
Right. So if you want to go to the gym, fight or be active 5 days a week, let's say an hour, yeah, that's 5 hours out of 160, whatever it was, hours.
168.
168. Is that and obviously 8 of that, 8 every day you're probably sleeping. But even so, 5 hours a week, maybe 20 minutes to the gym and 20 minutes back, tops. You
Okay.
know, can is that something? Is that sounds like excuses to me, right?
Well, travel time don't count. So I'm think about travel time. I mean,
But
because
I'm going to pick travel timing because people will use that as an excuse. So I'm putting that in. But listen, 5 hours, okay, that's fine. Maybe 4 hours. Okay. I always say 4 hours is a sweet spot. Four days a week is a sweet spot. It's not 3, it's not 5, it's 4. It's in between. It's doable. So 4 hours out of 168 hours a week. Okay. I mean, come on, right? Uh, how much do we want this, guys? How much do you want to improve your life? How long do you want to live a nice life? Because we're all going to die at some point, right? But it's about the standard of your living. You know, your posture when you get older.
Right.
Our bones get brittle when we get older. We
Yep.
lose, as a man, we lose our testosterone. It drops,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Resistant training and eating well will help maintain as high as we can,
Ooh.
right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I mean, how long do you want to be a man for?
Oh.
So I'm dropping bombs right now, right? But this is serious. This is it's no joke. It's no joke because you get to 60, 65. If you haven't been doing resistance training, just going to be you're going to drop, right?
Right. Right.
It's going to be hard for you to get out of your chair. It's going to be hard for you to sit down in your chair. And that's what I mean.
Oh.
Sometimes I go to places and I see this happening. I see the man going out this chair and it takes him ages to get up. And then when he sits down, he's like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Plop.
has no control. So yes, we're doing this for how you look, but also we're doing it not to get to that point as well. You don't want that quality of life. You want quality of life.
Right.
Right. So if you can spare 4 hours out of 168 hours a week, yeah, that's all you need. And I'm saying 4 hours. You don't even need to be in the gym for an hour. You can be in the gym for 30 minutes and still do it. Right. So let's say 2 hours, right? If you're hitting it hard. So listen, it's for me. Most of the times, it's excuses, and my job is to try and remove those excuses and make it as easy as possible for that person. That's what I like to do: make things as easy as possible.
Well, I want to tell you, I appreciate that consultation you did with me because it take me some time. I mean, I try to just use my time wisely. And so I'm trying to, I'm actually almost back at that point where I could go back to where I used to be, where I can really get that real serious workout in. But I go and I take my time and I do it. And so I want to thank you for that consultation because I definitely needed that uplifting and motivation. I got to tell you.
And even this conversation here, I'm sure it's obviously helped you again to kind of, we all sometimes need a bit of a tap on the shoulder.
Yes, exactly.
And even me talking about it helps me as well, right? So it can help everyone. Sometimes we just need a bit of a community, and that's why I kind of like to kind of build as well as a community. I have a group as well where there's a group because although I do my one-to-one stuff, I also have a group. So there's people that are in a group that are in the same, on that same path and that same boat. And we meet every Sunday. Everyone's got an individual meal plan. We follow the same workouts, and we're just that same boat, same community. Wow. So yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for doing that because that's definitely building community right there.
Yes. Yes.
Things that's needed, and a lot of people. Yeah. Hey, some they want some of us can say, hey, I need this. But sometimes that mind and that ego say, I can't say that.
Yeah. Most of the time you're fighting against your own brain, right? So it's and that's with everything. It's not a fight against anyone else, it's you and your brain. And it's you just have to, for me personally, what I do is think, I always ask myself this question: what would my future self want me to do right now?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I always ask myself that question.
Really?
So when I don't feel like doing something, so I had to edit a video earlier, right?
Right.
It's not fitness related, but it's work related. I had to edit my video, but I didn't feel like doing it. But I thought, what would my future self want me to do right now? And I just got it down and I posted it, done. Same with training. What would my future self want me to do right now? Right, let's go and get my bag and go to the gym. Yeah, so just keep thinking, sometimes you just need little triggers. You need little triggers. What would your future self want you to do right now? That's it. Yeah, that's it.
That's that's real right there. And I think that's something that and just listening to the way that was framed, that tells you don't be on the fence. Go do it.
That's it. Because That
Go.
person in the future, your person in the future is going to think, what if I'd have done that? I would. And regret is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's in depression.
yeah. Regret. Regret is the worst thing. So you
Mm.
know, as long as you try and you try and you try, then things will happen for sure.
What strategies do you use to help clients maintain long-term lifestyle changes?
So again, I like to make things easy as
Mhm.
much as possible, because if I make something hard to follow or too restrictive, it might work for a few weeks, you know, tops a few months, but you're not likely to stick to it if it's too restrictive and too hard to follow, like too many meals, or you're eating just chicken and broccoli. It's not going to work.
Right.
So for the long term, I like to make sure the plan is put in a way, whether it's the training or the food, that is quite easy to maintain and sustain, and make it sustainable to follow.
Mhm.
Because yes, you might not make an aggressive, it might not be an aggressive approach, as in you like lose loads of weight quickly, like really quickly. It's more of a long term thing, and you'll get from A to Z at some point, but you're going to get there. Okay, so it's a long term look, but you're going to make progress because it's easy to follow and it's sustainable. It's not too restrictive. As long as it's not, because you need that chocolate now and again. I have chocolate. I have cookies. I have all that. Okay. If I didn't have that, yes, I might be more shredded or more leaner, but you still need a little bit of moderation in you, a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
Still need a little bit of that, because if you don't, then that could be worse as well. That you could go down another avenue where you don't want to go down, right? So you
Bring.
still need a bit of social life, a bit of a few treats, but as long as you follow something that's going to make progress, 70 to 80% of the time, you're going to improve,
Mhm.
right? You're not going to be 100%. But
Mhm.
as long as it's more, then you have more good stuff than bad stuff. You're gonna be fine. Okay, you're gonna make progress. So that's the way I like to approach things for the more of the long term side of things, and reaching the goals more of a long term way.
Could you describe a challenging client scenario you faced and how you handled it?
Uh, so so I had a guy that he he wasn't he would make a little bit of progress, and then like the following week it'd be like right back to where he was, and then a bit of progress again, and back and forth, and then at one point right back to where he started, right? But obviously, but at the same time, he was being very open and honest with me on what he
Mhm.
was doing. So he wasn't following the plan. He was drinking too much alcohol on the weekends and stuff like that. So you know, we made a bit of progress again, but I think he's had history of this before.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's very hard to break history sometimes. It depends how strong it is in that person. It is very individual,
Mhm.
but sometimes, I can only do so much,
Right.
right? So I can take you to the water, but you have to drink it, right? I can keep taking you back, but at some point you're gonna have to, I'm gonna have to leave you there to drink, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so after a few times, in my head it's right. Okay, now you're gonna have to like do something now, because I can give you everything, and when you was following, it was working. But as
Mhm.
soon as it, so there was more issue there. There was a lot more issue there, and maybe just needed, you know, I think maybe he's not in that right spot right now. Sometimes this is all about timing as well.
Right.
Uh, but I left him with the tools. The tools are there, so he knows what to do. I think there's other issues there. So we get that. This is, when you're working with other humans, this happens. It's a quite a normal thing, but it's something where I can definitely learn, because there's definitely things I could have maybe improved on and changed, and that's where my experience comes from, because I've worked with so many different types of people. Maybe I could have approached it from a different angle. But yeah, so that's one example. That's one example. But again, it does boil down to, it is a partnership, right? It's a
That's what.
teamwork. It's not a one-way thing. If you have to do the work, I have to do the work together, and then hopefully. So I always say at the beginning, I'm the driver, you're the passenger. Okay. Eventually, you become that driver.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And
How,
and,
how
yeah.
important do you think sleep and stress management are in achieving fitness goals?
Oh, massive, massive. Massive. There's been even a time when I was doing a competition, but my sleep was like 4 to 5 hours a day, a night. And when I got on that stage, my body wasn't the way it should have looked, right? Obviously, at competition levels, it's fine lines as well. So everyone's like at a high level. When I've slept 6, 7, 8 hours, body changes. Same for someone looking to lose weight, lose body fat. Sleep is everything. You make the most change when you're at rest. So imagine when you're sleeping at rest, your body's going to change,
Yes.
right? Your body's going to change. When you have a good sleep, let's say you're on this meal plan, you have a good sleep. You take your weight in the morning, the weight is good.
Right.
If you take your weight after, say, 4 hours sleep, it's got a lot of retention. It's got a lot of stress. It hasn't recovered properly. The body, your
Right.
weight would typically be a bit higher, and that's
Yes.
because of just stress alone, let alone anything else. So sleep is so important, you know. And like we mentioned before, it will dictate what you eat the following day as well. You know,
Okay.
it will dictate that.
So, can you tell our listeners what resources, books, websites, podcasts do you recommend to clients for further education?
That's a good. So education in the fitness, in the fitness, or just in general
Fitness.
fitness. So that sleep one I mentioned. Where is it? It's called Why We Sleep.
Okay.
Okay, I can't remember the author, but it's called Why We Sleep. I recommend that. I also recommend. I mean, if you're someone that wants to, build a bit of muscle, and typically if you're a male, the good old school encyclopedia by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The big thick book.
Yeah.
Uh, the big thick book.
That's when he was competing.
That's when he was competing. But when I read back at it, it's everything. Like, it's nothing new.
Right. It's nothing new, but look how he blew up.
Yeah, but no, what I mean is all these other books that have come out and all these other people that are online. If you read that, he had it all in there.
Yes.
It's all in there. People like to rewrite it and try and invent something new, but it's all there. So I sometimes will just go in there and just read it because oh yeah, I remember giant sets. Not many people do giant sets these days, but for me, I do giant sets. All right.
Well, I mean, you was a competitor.
Yeah. So for giant sets is like, whoa. The people when I sometimes put a client on giant sets, they're like, Ryan, man, what was that? I got a serious pump on that, but I just go back to basics, right?
Wow.
People forget about the basics.
Right.
They look at these fancy movements someone's doing online. Forget about the fancy movement. Get back to basics and work hard. That's it. right?
Yes, sir.
Feel good when you get out of that gym or out of the room that you're training at home. Feel good about it. So yeah, that's the encyclopedia. Um, and then obviously you've got a lot of you've got a few podcasts out there. I mean, I've got a podcast as well that I haven't recorded for a while now, but we did 4 years of it. So there's a the information that are on those podcasts are still relevant. It's
Hmm.
called the podcast is called The Pose Down. The Pose Down is starring myself and another host, and we spoke about fitness for about 4 years on a podcast. So that you can find on iTunes, Spotify, all the podcast platforms out there.
Is that your YouTube channel?
No, that's a podcast. It's called
Oh,
the podcast is called The Pose Down.
okay.
Yeah, and you can find that on iTunes, Spotify, and all the other podcast platforms out there. So yeah, I mean those are the two main ones, and like I said, mainly like the books that I read typically is more about mindset and like business, at the moment. But because, like I said, I've been in this industry a long time now, and I kind of learn on the job, and I practice what I preach, right? So I know
Right.
it works. So I know it works. Yeah.
How do you monitor and adjust training programs based on client feedback and progress?
Yeah. So if I'm doing a one-to-one program with someone, let's say every 2 weeks we would sit on a Zoom call typically, and we'll go through their workouts. So when a client is working with me, I get them to type in exactly what they're lifting throughout the session,
Mhm.
right? So basically the client's taken note of everything that they're doing in the gym. So then when I review some of their workouts, I have a look through it and think, okay, maybe you could have pushed a little bit more on that workout and so forth. So I kind of look at that. And then obviously I look at their photos. I get feedback from yourself as well. And how what was your energy like? How much water did you consume and so forth. So I review it in that sense. And then from that, let's say you're not making any progress, let's say, then I may change your output on your workouts. So you
Okay.
might do a little bit more, or we look at your food. If that person hasn't got much time, any more time to commit,
Right.
then I would look at the food and make changes to that, right? And
Oh,
that could be maybe adding some carb cycling in, as I mentioned earlier. It could be taking out a certain food, putting in another type of food. It could be changing the quantities of what you're eating, right?
okay.
And yeah, and maybe some people miss meals because they haven't got the time to have that meal, and that could affect. So we'll have to look at that and make changes to the meal plan in general.
So, what do you find most rewarding about your work as a personal trainer and nutritionist?
When I see someone's life, when I see it affect their life,
Mm.
I've had people, say to me, "Look, Ryan, like it's the best thing." But like even recently, a guy he came on board like 8 weeks ago, and he's like, "Ryan, this is fantastic. I mean, I wish I found you earlier." Right? He's from LinkedIn as well. Like, I wish I found you earlier.
Mhm.
This is amazing. You changed the way I feel. Like when I hear that, I'm like well, as humans, I think this is what we're meant to do. We're meant to help other humans, right? In general,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because that's what makes the world. That's what makes the world stay alive, right?
Well, that's all of us that's got a moral compass.
Yes, yes, exactly, right. But so when you look at basics, we're meant to help other people.
Right.
From right, when you strip things away, when you strip everything away, we're meant to help other people because that's what makes the world go around. So
Exactly.
so when I see and when I get that kind of feedback, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Especially if you're making someone feel better about themselves. Like, you know, so yeah.
How do you ensure ethical standards and professionalism in your practice?
So in terms of what I'm doing,
Yes.
yeah. So for me, I mean, so would you mean like when I'm designing programs, or
Just the interaction and the work between you and your clients.
oh, okay. So for me, it's a business relationship, right?
Mhm.
And like I mentioned to you before, it's teamwork. So there's obviously you got boundaries anyway. You have boundaries, but for me, I'm here to help you, okay, accomplish something.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes, I do like to. I do like to have a relationship in terms of it's good to be able to get along with that person because that helps.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that definitely helps, and I feel that if you can, because some of my clients that I've had became friends,
Right.
right? Became friends. Like I've had a guy that I trained from Italy. Like when I first started, he was one of my first clients and became friends.
Right.
Went to his vineyard in Italy, in Sardinia,
Hmm.
and became friends. So if you can get to close to those terms, it really does help because you both respect each other and you don't want to waste each other's time, and you're more likely to listen to that person because you trust that person,
Hmm.
right? So that helps. So I do like to get to that kind of point if I can. If not, that's fine, as long as we can ethically get to that goal that person
Hmm.
wants to achieve.
So, can you explain the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist?
um to be honest about they are the same. They are the same near enough. In the end of the day, I mean, a dietitian is more likely to give you a meal plan, specify meal plan. Nutritionist will kind of give you the same thing, but would probably give you more of a a generalized, okay, this is what you should be eating. Okay, this is what you should be eating, and this is the this is the kind of quantity that you should be having. So they're near enough the same thing. It's like saying a doctor, a doctor at a certain. It's like saying a doctor, a GP, a general practitioner, and a doctor for I don't know, for a certain part of the body. It's near enough the same, but they're kind of delivering uh delivering something to that person. They're near enough the same. Yeah, they're near enough the same.
What are your thoughts on supplementation in conjunction with a balanced diet? That is
Yes,
supplement.
yes. I mean, supplements is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Oh, it's a bit of feedback. So with supplements, it's the word. It says it in the word supplementation. Supplement. So it's a supplement to food.
Hmm.
So food will always be first, but supplement are there to supplement your food. So it can definitely help, especially in the form of protein. So it's hard to sometimes get to let's say, I want you to get 200 grams of protein. It sometimes can be hard for someone to do that through food alone. So throwing in a couple protein shakes is fine now and again, to kind of try and get you to that number.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm all for that, right? But
Hmm.
not relying on supplements.
Hmm.
Don't rely on that. It's there to supplement your food.
Mm. Well, because now let me just tell you, because I had to calm myself down, and not that I was like on supplements, whatever have you, but I used to find myself doing a protein shake every day at midday.
Okay.
When I did that, because of the protein and all that stuff that's in it, I wanted to make sure that that I would at least, especially when I didn't have time to actually make a meal, I would supplement that as a meal. But not that anything happened, but I start reading all these things about about the protein powder, and it's killing your liver and your kidneys, and it's making you sick and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't feel like that. But I
Mm,
kind of like gradually got away from that because of
okay.
what I read. And so, is there any truth to that?
Well, there's so much research out there. It's quite hard to to kind of know what's true and what's not true, right? But I mean, I wouldn't replace it for a meal personally, but I
Mhm.
would add it to say a post workout
Okay,
uh
okay.
shake. So
First
it's not like
time.
a meal. It's just like to get the protein in a lot quicker than a meal. It's just so
Okay.
what I would sometimes recommend is have a shake straight after a session, and then about an hour later have your meal, something along those lines,
Okay.
right? If you're having it for breakfast, then I would give an option typically, whether it's a shake with some oats or eggs, and maybe some oats or eggs and a toast or something. So I'll give it as an option, just so you can kind of choose which one you want for that given day. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say have it all every day though. I would say just jump in between here and there. But yeah, I mean, having it at midday every day. I mean, I wouldn't have that instead of a meal. I would still have a meal, right?
Okay.
So, in terms of replacing it, I wouldn't have done that. But having one a day, there doesn't seem to be any adverse effects. I mean, there's so many. You can Google that, and if you're going to Google that, you're going to get that,
Right.
right? The search term that you put in Google, wouldn't have helped your the search results.
Right.
You would have put in what are the side effects of whey protein, right, or something along those lines. Okay,
Hmm.
bad side effects. You're going to get all the bad side effects, right?
Okay.
If you whatever you type in Google, you're going to get. So if you put good side effects, then you're going to get all the good ones, right? So you know, if you look at the ingredients, if you look at the ingredients of the whey supplement, you'll see it will say it'll normally say milk, or it'll say whey, whey isolate, whey concentrate, and then you'll see all the other stuff, right?
Right.
Yes, all the other stuff can't be the best for you, right?
Right.
Compared to a steak or a chicken breast or a chicken thigh, it's just chicken, right?
Right.
So that would always beat that. Hence why I wouldn't replace it as a meal. I would still get the chicken in, as well as maybe a protein shake if you needed to top up your protein,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
I- If you could eat enough protein so you didn't have that, then even better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And your final question:
Mm.
what advice would you give to someone considering a career in personal training and nutrition?
I would say you're gonna need to love what you do. Like most things, you need to love what you do, because if it's something that you're looking to pursue, you're gonna want to do it forever or for a long time.
Hmm.
So because you're working with people all the time, you need to love what you do.
Hmm.
You need to love what you're giving, and you need to love what the reward, the progress that you get someone to achieve. So if you can get yourself, if that's something that you're going to enjoy, then do it,
Hmm.
right? Then do it. But it's not easy either, right? So you need to you still need to understand that this is like any other kind of job in life. You still have to work at it. So and, you have to work at it. So if you enjoy it, it's going to be a lot easier, right? It's going to be a lot easier. And like I said about before about demotivation, we all get demotivated in one way. But if you enjoy it, it's easier to jump back into it
Hmm.
and get back on that bandwagon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, in closing and in conclusion, What would you like to tell our audience, including how they can contact you and the services that you're offering?
So listen, if I'm a person where I'm quite, and I'm approachable. Okay, so for me, if you are looking to change, like if you really want to change, like I've said before, I can take you to the water, but you need to drink it. If you really want to change and you're open to be helped, you're ready to be guided, then yes, you can contact me on LinkedIn, right? Or you can email me at coaching@ryanjohnbaptiste.com. I would say those are the best way. I mean, there are other forms and stuff I have, but if you want to contact me directly, you can do that through what I've just mentioned. You can message me on LinkedIn or you can email me at coaching@ryanjohnbaptiste.com. And then we would book a call and then we'd have that conversation, like I mentioned, because I feel that having a conversation, I can learn a bit about yourself, but also, it's sometimes good to talk to someone like me because then you can see if we work well together. Because it's about that team relationship that's needed. Because you want to trust that person as well at the same time. So I always want to get on the call first. Yeah.
Well, I recommend for those that are on that fence and they really need some assistance and want to talk to someone, I recommend that you actually take the time to speak with Mr. Baptiste, because I've done it myself. I'd like to thank each and every individual that has watched the show, especially those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and hit the notifications button in case you do miss a show. You'll always be notified that the show is happening or is coming. I also would like to thank Mr. Ryan John Baptiste for spending some time with us and giving us some insight into nutrition, as well as getting your body in shape and getting it formed for what it needs to be for long lasting. I want to thank you again for your time. I thank everybody for watching, and please have a great evening. And we will see you all tomorrow evening. Have a great night, and I thank you again.